Hey guys, Jax Foss here. So today's April 25th. This should be up sometime relatively soon after I finish it. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to upload. I'm going to try not to make this too long. So, so if you haven't already, I'm sorry, let me get a little comfortable here. My apologies, I meant to have that off sooner. Anyway, so today is April 25th. Today is the 10th anniversary of the discontinuation of the Star Wars EU. You know, well, towards that end, I'm kind of going to talk about my own history with Star Wars. This goes back, my history with Star Wars goes back, what is it now? 23 years, just about. When I was a kid, I would ask my mom, from about the age of like 4.5 to, to about a little over 5, like when am I gonna get the chance to watch Star Wars? And she told me, when you're 6. And I was like, okay. So when I was 6, I was like, well, when are we gonna watch Star Wars, Mom? And she's like, well, we don't have Star Wars. And I'm like, well, can't we get it? And she's like, well, we'll get it. So finally, this teenager's watching me, and it comes up, and so he starts showing me episode 4. Well, we didn't finish by the time my mom came and got me. But after that, I want to say within a week, we had gotten the whole original trilogy tape set. Yes, this is 2001 here. We're talking, episode 1 has already come out. We've got the whole thing. So we go and we watch all 3 movies. I love them. Okay, I am in love with the whole storyline, and I've just fallen in love. Okay, later that year, I want to say for Christmas, I got the Phantom Menace. Loved that. I didn't like it as much, even then. But I was almost 7 by that time, so 7 years old. The Phantom Menace, there was that part of me that was like, I really enjoy this, but there was that other part of me that's like, it's okay. I didn't like it as much as the original trilogy. But to this day, I still have a soft spot in my heart for the Phantom Menace. So, and at this point, I'm really into Lego. Okay, I'm a big Lego fan, and to this day, those of you who follow me on Instagram, I'm a big Lego fan. So, I'm getting Lego sets, mostly small sets, because, we didn't have a lot of money. But, there were some sets that were just really good, and some, just simple ones. I actually miss those simple sets. Okay, Lego, Disney, Lucasfilm, whoever needs to hear this, all of you, get together, start making small sets again. I'm tired of just getting battle packs, okay? They're boring. I want small sets. Use, just mini layouts. I miss those. Those are really nice. You just had simple stuff. Anyway, that's the end of my Lego complaint. So, going on, the whole. So I'm getting into Star Wars. I'm loving Star Wars. I know by the time that I say that I was 10 when I got into the expanded universe. And I say this because I didn't really dig into it until I was 10. So my introduction to the EU was probably, I'm trying to remember when it was, because I really don't remember. I want to say my introduction to the EU came when I would have been 8 or 9. That would be, yeah, I was 8 or 9. I never saw, I never saw Clone Wars, the Tartakovsky Clone Wars until after Revenge of the Sith came out. I did see, so I'm skipping ahead. So after I got the Phantom Menace on tape for Christmas, I was 7. I was almost 7, and I was 7 by the time Attack of the Clones came out in 2002. So, and I remember it because I remember, because the small town that I grew up in, the local theater, they would have displays up for really awesome movies, especially kids movies. And when Attack of Clones came out, they had a whole display of Star Wars action figures. Oh, it was beautiful. Well, we go and we watch episode 2, and I'm really loving it. And they, and they did the same thing for Revenge of the Sith later. But, I really enjoyed episode 2 as a kid. I thought it was really fun, but it was an action movie. And that's it was meant to be an action movie. And, to be honest, looking at it now, it really doesn't have a lot. The first 2 acts of the movie, there's not a lot of action. Okay? But by the third act, the third act is all action. It's entirely action. But, I get into, so my dad, he got me some Star Wars comics. They were very disjointed, very out of order. I remember a couple, though. He got me one full arc, and that was Obsession, which of course that was just before Revenge of the Sith came out. When he got me those. I may still have some of those single issues, but now I have the complete Clone Wars Republic trade paperbacks from is that the right word? Trade paperbacks? I forget. I'll have to. Are they crap? We'll worry about that. It's not important. Okay, I'm sorry. But so my intro into the EU was more or less that. Then, after Revenge of the Sith came out, and I knew there were books, I was aware of them by the time of Revenge of the Sith coming out, I think. And so, bear in mind, I'm 10. I'm in 4th or 5th grade when it came out. Because I would have been 10. Because I was 10, and I was probably in 4th grade when it... No. It's 2005. Yeah, okay, sorry. I had to think for a moment there. So, this is going to be unedited, so, don't mind me if I have a couple of seconds of pausing. I'm trying to remember things. So, I am, so I'm 10. Revenge of the Sith comes out, and it was, and I loved that movie. It was great. You know, and so this is after the whole thing has already come out. So I had just dabbled in it a little bit. But after Revenge of the Sith came out, my mom got a handful of books that had been donations. She worked for she worked for a school that would get donations, and while we're talking about like a preschool, like 3 and 4 year olds, they're not gonna read any of these. Okay, even the young readers stuff, they're not reading those. Okay, and I'm not that age in my life where I'm starting to read novels. Okay, I'm 10. I'm starting to read novels. So there were a handful of books. There were a couple of the Jedi Apprentice series books. Book 1 was specifically a part of that. I also got, if you've seen it, the young readers novel of The Phantom Menace was a part of that. I don't remember there were other books in the Jedi Apprentice series, but I seem to have lost them, which sucks. There were a couple of Jedi Prince books and a couple of Galaxy of Fear books. I do not have the Galaxy of Fear books anymore. They are gone. It sucks because I don't know if I gave them away, if something happened and they got ruined. I don't remember. And it's horrible because, they were good stories. Anyway, so, I was 10. That's when I really delved into it. And then I got, I actually did get two full novels, and they were a duology. They were part of the New Jedi Order. It was the Dark Tide duology. So it's a very weird place to come in because Anakin's dead, Jason is missing, and he has no part in that duology. And you're like, okay. Like, I'm getting a feel for Jaina, a little bit of a feel for Jag. Mara and Luke, for a little bit, seem like background characters. Same with Lando. Like, Leia seems to be more forefront, at least for part of it. But then, you get a little more into it, and it's like, oh, okay, they are all prominent here. It's just hard to hold it all. And that's why it's 2 books and not 1. Because the guy had a whole storyline. And there are parts I remember very vividly, parts that I'm just like, I have no recollection of what happens in this story at all. Anyway, so that was my intro to the EU. And so then, I don't remember if it was before I got those books or after. But I know it was before I read the Dark Tide books. I know it was before that. Oh, I also did get the novelization of A New Hope and the novelization of Return of the Jedi, but I wasn't going to read that until I got The Empire Strikes Back, and I seem to have lost those, which is upsetting. Anyway, at some point, I'm pretty sure after I got the books, but before I had read any of the novels, my dad got a hold of the Clone Wars animated DVDs, and we watched them. I enjoyed them, Dad was so critical of the animation, and I didn't mind. If anything, I thought that Mace Windu having feet twice the size of his head was funny. But Dad was being ridiculous. Anyway, but he was disappointed because he wanted to understand how Anakin got his scar. Well, remember I said he got me the Obsession comics. Well, he would read. He read every comic he ever gave me. Well, he never found the comic where Anakin and Ventress have that fight, and he appears to kill her for the second time. The first time is in the battle on Yavin 4 that you see in the Tartakovsky show. Well, he, as far as I know to this day, he still doesn't understand what happened. But, he's lost his interest in a lot of his things. Moving along. So, I'm kind of in and out of Star Wars. I get a little more into the Jedi Apprentice series. Well, my cousins, I have cousins around my age that are also getting into it on my dad's side. And so we're reading these books all together, and they're quite interesting stories. We get to a point where, I definitely did not finish them. I don't remember if they did. I don't think any of us finished the story, because I was reading them. My cousins were reading them. My aunt and my uncle, all of us were reading them. We were kind of sharing the books amongst ourselves, and yet somehow, anyway, so that was my real getting into it, but at first, but then I kind of backed out of it, and I got older and I had other things that I was more interested in for that time. But I always kept coming back to Star Wars. I kept watching the movies, and and obviously, I saw the Clone Wars movie, which I've talked about. By what would it have been? 20. Let me think here. So 2008, I was 13 then. So by 2011, 2012, I started getting more into the EU again. And the Clone Wars stuff was kind of confusing to me, adding it in, because I had discovered Wikipedia in this time frame. I discovered it, but we discovered it. I had discovered it before with my cousins. We went to look something up online, and we found Wikipedia, and we were like, huh? It's like a whole Wikipedia dedicated to Star Wars, and we're like, oh, that's cool. But then I didn't do anything with that for over a year and a half, and then I remembered it. And so I went and I looked some things up. So bear in mind, this is before 2012. There was some information at this time on the Darth Plagueis story. There wasn't much, but there were little bits. So I remember reading about Darth Plagueis. I believe the Darth Tenebris short story had come out by then. The little one that kind of gives you the whole maxi-chlorian thing, which I still don't understand. I never read it, and honestly, I based on the Wikipedia article alone, I don't want to read it. But I could be wrong. Please tell me if I should read that. Or if you've read it. Or if you know what the heck I'm talking about. Maybe I'm thinking of something I'm not understanding. Anyway. I start getting more into it. I get involved in a couple of Star Wars online roleplay things. One has absolutely nothing to do with the EU. It is entirely its own thing. It's its own universe, but it's based on the Star Wars universe. It's like an alternate universe. I think it's still active. I forget the name of it. But anyway, then I get involved in the StarWarsRP.com. And there were things that I liked about it, and looking back on it now, and I'm like, man, that was a dumb period of my life. But there were aspects of what was going on there that were really good, and there were also aspects that were just like, what is this? Because the idea was to have a role-playing layout that takes place in the Star Wars universe. The period that they were going off of was the future, post-Legacy, which I had read by that point. I'd had at least one issue of Legacy. I don't think I have that anymore. But man, seriously, this is a long video. Oh shoot. But but that was when I started to get more into the EU. Then in 2014, so it's 2012, the sale is going on. So we get to 2012, the Disney sale's going on, books are still coming out. Star Wars: The Old Republic is at its peak here, and then it's 2013. And it's 2013. Okay, I'm graduating high school, and then I'm in college, and I'm still involved in this role play thing online. We'd been working on this game for 3 years at this point. Well, it's 2013. We are getting some news because we're getting some news ahead of time, because we're a little bit ahead, because we have people connected on the inside in this group. Well, one of the things that I see is that they're going to create a new timeline. They're creating a whole new timeline using the original 6 movies and the Clone Wars as the foundation of this new timeline that they're dealing with. They're kind of setting aside the expanded universe. And I was like, okay, that this doesn't mean that it's necessarily being discontinued. Maybe they're just gonna tweak some things, make some changes, make things a little more consistent across the board. Maybe they'll change some character ages. Maybe Ben will be closer in age to, the Solo kids. Maybe they'll cut Anakin Solo out entirely because, outside of the books, nobody, he's not even that important. So I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to have some stuff going on. Well, and I anticipate this for, well over a year. And I'm anticipating this for over a year. We get the official announcement. They are discontinuing the EU, and they are rebranding it Legends. Well, by that point, I was kind of done with the roleplay game because it wasn't going anywhere. And where it was going was just, it got to a point where it was just weird. So I was just done. I was done. I was like, there's no reason to keep going with this. I'm done with it. No reason to keep going. Finally, we get, The Force Awakens comes out. And I'm like, okay, it's not bad. you know, and, I liked it when I saw it initially. I saw it again. I liked it less. You know, I I watched it I think 3 times in total. One once in the theater, once with my best friend, and once again with my parents after we got the DVD. And I don't remember the order of those last two. I don't remember. Um, but because both of them were with the DVD, I don't remember if I watched with him first or with my parents first. But I watched it 3 times, and each time I'm like, I like this movie less and less the more I watch it, because I'm realizing they're contradicting the whole universe itself. They're contradicting established things in the movies. So I was just like, okay, I'm done with this. I saw Rogue One. It was pretty good. The Last Jedi comes out. I hear some stuff, and I'm like, honestly, I'm not finding much reason to watch it. But I'm like, but after it comes out on DVD, I'm like, okay, I've got to see it. I've got to just sit down, watch the whole thing. I watched it, and I remember I watched it and I fell asleep halfway through. And then I never watched it again until a few years later, after I got Disney Plus, and then I sat down and I finished the movie. And I remembered exactly where I left off too. That's how weird my brain works, by the way. This was years apart watching this. And honestly, it was hard to sit through that whole thing. There are parts I don't recall at all, which says a lot, because I remember a lot when it comes to movies, but like it was just so not good. And then about a year ago, I saw for the first time, or maybe it was 2 years ago. Hold on, when was it? Sorry, 2 years ago. So yeah, 2 years ago, I saw for the first time the Rise of Skywalker, and it was just, I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this. All that to say, like, when I was going through everything that I've seen of Disney's canon, just tells me that they don't care. They don't care. Their trilogy is not good, and their shows are okay. Okay, I didn't get into the Book of Boba Fett. I couldn't get into Kenobi. I watched the first episode of each one, and neither one held my interest. I don't know if I even finished the first episode of Kenobi, but neither one held my interest because it just wasn't very good. There were things, but there are things that are good, but I've just reached a point where I'm done trying new Star Wars stuff. Only if it is new expanded universe stuff, new Legends material, will I consider watching. Ultimately, it's just, I've reached a point where where I just don't have much of a desire to see it. And I'm not condemning anybody who watches the new canon. By all means, enjoy it. If you like it, enjoy it. Okay? There are worse. I'll tell you right now, I have seen worse things than anything I've seen on related to Star Wars. The worst thing of Star Wars is still better than a lot of other things out there. There are some horrible, horrible movies that people love. And I think, how can you love this? And there are absolutely terrible TV shows that somehow went on for years, while some of the best shows in the world lasted a season when they were supposed to go for 7 years. But that's another discussion for another day. The whole... But anyway, with the EU, I'll say this. If there's one thing I definitely agree with Callum from Callum's Cantina, if there's one thing I do agree with him on, it's that continuing the EU, as much as I want it, and if you've seen Brennan's video, you would know that I want the EU continued, but I don't want it just continued. I want it continued with care, as Cal says. But at the time, I thought that my portion of the video had to be really short, so I was trying to keep it short. So that's part of why I'm making this. I'm still getting Star Wars Lego sets. I'm still there are, and I'm definitely, most of you who follow me on Instagram, I customize my own minifigures, and I collect some as well. I go out of my way for this. And all of my minifigures, all of my custom ones are Star Wars. I don't really do anything with other minifigures. And it's not that I have anything against other Lego stuff. It's just Star Wars is where I am. And I do have some new canon stuff. Like I've got Fortress Vader from Rogue One. I've got that set. But there are some things, and ultimately I'm making this video because I miss the days where I was excited when a new Star Wars story came out. I didn't read most of them when they were being released because I didn't have a lot of regular access to, I didn't have my own money when they were still being released. And when they stopped being released, I went out of my way to get a lot of the audiobooks. I have several audiobooks and I've listened to every single one of them that I currently have. And if there's one thing I do like about the Essential Legends collection, which I still think is insulting to a lot of books, because what they consider essential and what fans consider essential are two very different things. Are they going to release The Hand of Thrawn? Are they going to release because they've done Survivor's Quest. Why haven't they done The Hand of Thrawn? It literally comes right from there. There's a whole lot of things that I'm like, I think we need to make some changes around here. But what they consider essential over at Lucasfilm and what fans consider essential are very different. There's no way that even if they were to take apart the New Jedi Order and just give you the core books, that's still going to be about 5-6 books. You've got the first book, you've got you got to get the key point books, and I'm like, you've got Vector Prime, you've got Unifying Force. Those two have to be there. They're the beginning and the end. You need those. And Star by Star, it's one of the most pivotal moments, sorry. But there are things that, now some of the books you can skip right over. Very little happens that in certain books that are necessary, but so like, and what they can't do, like they can't do the like they can't do Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi. That's 9 books each. They're not going to do those. I mean, I'm still waiting for Izard's Revenge. I'm still waiting for that to come out on audiobook, because like to me it doesn't make sense. They've gotten through all like what are they waiting to finish Wraith Squadron before they do Izard's Revenge? I don't understand. Like, I mean, I guess I could see maybe going through all of the Wraith Squadron books and then releasing Izard's Revenge. I don't know. I'm like, you're releasing books that, like, they just like they recently did iJedi. It's like, okay, but like we haven't gotten Izard's Revenge. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off a little bit on tangents here, but my thing is that the EU, I mean, it's always going to be a part of the fan. The EU fans are always going to love it. And, and some people are going to love anything Star Wars. And I respect that. I do. I've tried to be that kind of a fan. I just don't like the new canon stuff. I just don't like it. It's not my thing. But if you like it, by all means, please enjoy it. As for the EU, I love it. The characters are so... It's like... It's hard to explain. If you're a reader, you can kind of get what I'm saying. With like you almost feel like you feel like you know these characters, and the Disney sequels. I've known like I've gotten to know Luke in the novels, and in watching those sequels, that's not Luke. It's not. I can't see Luke there. And, maybe it is because of the EU. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel like Luke anytime I look at that. It just doesn't, it never felt like Luke to me. And to this day, like and every story that I've read, that I've listened to, that I've gotten more into, that I've dove more deeper and deeper into the EU as time has gone on, I am loving every aspect of it. The history, the lore. There's so much. And I don't think I'll ever stop loving the EU. If I become a living encyclopedia of all EU knowledge, I will still revisit stories through audiobook, through reading them myself, when I have kids, reading them to my kids. Okay? I will always, like, the EU is probably the only fandom that I am entirely, like, that I can consistently revisit. That's as big as it is. I mean, I've got other things that I really like that I regularly revisit, but they're not nearly as large. Okay, but those things have a special place in my heart as well, but it's different. Anyway, guys, thank you for sitting and watching. Thank you for watching and listening to me rant for 40 minutes. I'm gonna let you guys go. Enjoy this bit of ridiculousness, but I got stuff I gotta take care of, so alright, may the force be with you, and we'll see you next time.